Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And if you like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Ring my bell, baby. Today, I'm going to discuss a video. Actually, I found this one on my own. A lot of times I'll say one of my subscribers awared me. No, this one just came through my feed. And it was Scott Herman talking about a superset for your biceps. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due for Scott. I generally kind of make fun of people getting so obsessed over bicep training. Biceps not that important of a muscle, and I'm saying that as someone who admits I train biceps as a powerlifter to improve my bench press, which we can get into that in a minute. Yes, powerlifters oftentimes train our biceps to improve our bench press. It does matter. People get really obsessed, though, over such a really small muscle. Now, to Scott's advantage, I was going to rip him a little bit. I was going to be like, man, why are you promoting supersets? Supersets in general are kind of silly for people not on gear. A bunch of supersetting works great if you're blasting a bunch of anabolics and you're trying to blow up with pump work. But for people trying to build a base, which is going to be Scott's audience, Scott is not going to have advanced lifters in his audience. Straight sets are probably better. Just get big all the way around. But what he did first is generally what we would recommend. A bigger, heavier movement, which is what you always want to build your base on. And if you need additional work in an area that's a lagging area, some smaller, lighter finesse work afterwards, right? Which is what he did. So it wasn't a normal superset. I thought he was just going to have people do 3 exercises back to back, which is silly. It's ridiculous. You're going to stay tiny doing that. And unless you are using gear, you are going to stay really small if that's how you train. But he didn't do that. So, to his credit, he did have people do a bigger movement first, then a smaller superset. The issue we have here is that we got really complicated about the bicep. And he kind of pointed out that, yes, the full range of motion of the bicep, and he's right. So, again, credit where credit is due. Scott basically said, look, a lot of people don't understand the bicep isn't just flexing the elbow. That's true. There's shoulder movement involved. There is. There has to be. Part of the function of the bicep is this right here. You guys see this movement? That is bicep. Okay, you should be able to feel your bicep doing that. That is one of the function of one of the heads of the bicep. You need that rotation of the shoulder. That is part of the movement. So if you're only bending your elbow, you're not doing it correctly. So people say, well, this is where cables and other stuff come in handy. Not really. Not really, because you can get that with other exercises. Pull-ups and things will still give you that effect. Or you can just curl higher, which is trying to stick your elbows in tight to your sides. In other words, trying to isolate muscles usually ends up leading to less growth. Therein lies our problem. It doesn't matter what the muscle is. Trying to isolate a muscle by using a single joint, doing single joint exercises, is generally a one-way ticket to less muscle fiber recruitment. It is, because the bicep involves shoulder and elbow. So you're no longer doing a single joint exercise or an isolation movement the moment you curl up to here. But you have to. You have to do that to recruit all the muscles. It's a requirement to get all the muscle fiber in the bicep. Same thing with the triceps. If you only bend the elbows, all you get is elbow tendonitis and only work half the tricep. The single joint exercises are, as a general rule, kind of silly. People say, what about calves? Well, calves are involved in knee flexion. Right? So if you're only doing your ankles, you're not training your calves. There's a reason most really strong squatters have big calves. It's not because they train them. They're working both joints. So even a muscle like the calf attaches at 2 points, guys. Almost every muscle in your body attaches at 2 joints. If you honestly think almost any muscle in the body that by moving a single joint you're going to be able to train it fully, you've been misled by goofy bodybuilders. That's not reality. But biceps are no exception. They're no exception. It attaches at 2 points, and both joints are involved in it to a greater or lesser degree. But here's the thing, guys. Biceps are just not that complicated. They really aren't that complicated. Do you know the only reason we ever need curls at all? Not because pull-ups and stuff don't work the biceps completely. That's not it at all. When people think about that for a moment, is there anything you can't do with pull-ups, chin-ups, rows, things like that in terms of bicep recruitment? No. Every study that's ever looked at it has found that. That's not the issue. It's that it's hard to do enough total training volume with them because they're bigger exercises. In other words, how many sets of pull-ups can you recover from in a week? How many can you recover from? That's our issue. It's not that every single rep on a pull-up doesn't fully activate all the heads of the bicep. The entire bicep gets activated on a pull-up. Gets activated on a pull-up. And, you know, we could talk all that we want about this stretch and everything, and let's look at even something like the incline curl. And while I would say, hey, an incline curl, if you were going to do a smaller movement, I would say an incline curl is phenomenal. But, I mean, if we really want to talk about stretch at the bottom, even the supine grip doesn't stretch it. You get more stretch in the hammer position, right? You get more stretch in a hammer position. So I would say to a lot of people, look, if you really want to get a proper stretch on the bicep, you get a proper stretch on the bicep, why not just do a neutral grip pull-up, right? If you are struggling with bicep development, learn to do full range of motion pull-ups. Go all the way down. Don't short stroke it at the bottom. Go all the way down on a pull-up. Reach your maximum recoverable volume every week on pull-ups and rows. And then throw in one type of curl. Okay? The bicep is a very, very simple muscle. It is not a muscle that is so complex that it needs two different small exercises. All right, that's absolutely ludicrous that anyone thinks that it does. Right? It's ludicrous. It's just not necessary. It's not complicated. Find yourself a good sort of curl, one that you like, one that you can feel the muscle in, one that seems to work it in a way that's a little better than what you've been getting. Do a few sets of that every week. All right, do a few sets of that every week. But let's come back over to what Scott said. You know, he started off by saying, well, we always want to start with a big, heavy movement. He started with a standing curl. I would say take that a degree further. Why not do pull-ups? Why not start with pull-ups and then come finish with a curl? What's wrong with doing a standing curl like he's doing as your secondary movement? Because ultimately, why is it that we curl? Why is it that anybody curls at all? Because we can only handle so much volume on the back exercises. We can only handle so much volume. And the biceps might still have reserves left. And if your biceps can benefit from more additional work, and you can recover from more additional work of a smaller movement, and you need bigger biceps, it does make sense to do it. It does make sense to do it in that case. Reasonable person is not going to disagree with that. But guys who are trying to get big, all these guys, they obsess over their bicep size, who are tiny guys. Okay? Have you guys considered that maybe the reason you have really small biceps, and I don't mean look small on camera, is that you're a small guy? And that in person, if you were to have put on 20 pounds of muscle through your whole body, your biceps would be bigger and still look bigger? Right? The only time you see a big guy and then think his biceps aren't big is because you see them on camera and it's a proportion issue because they're big and their biceps are only slightly big. You see that individual in person, which is hopefully what most of you are training for. Most of you out there lifting are not trying to get famous on Instagram. Most of you are lifting, if you're trying to get bigger, you want to be bigger. You don't care about looking bigger on the internet. You care about being bigger walking down the street, I would hope. You care about gaining muscle to be stronger, more athletic, be better at sports, be healthier, be fitter. But if you're caring about appearance, hopefully you care about your appearance in person more. I can assure you, getting a thicker, wider back that happens to grow the biceps also is probably going to be a higher priority. it's going to go a lot further in person. Chill with the bicep session, guys. But if you want to do some curls, do some curls. They're fine. You want to do some curls to help grow your biceps, there's nothing wrong with that. Be careful on the ones you do so that you don't get tendonitis in your elbows, because that's the problem with smaller exercises done incorrectly and like a bodybuilder. But make sure that you put your focus on your back work, right? Do your pull-ups, do your rows. Then if you need some more, do some curls afterwards. Focus on the big exercises. Get big all the way around. And then finish up with the areas that need extra work afterwards. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.